thank you so much for joining me in Edie's WW Kitchen. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click subscribe and see if we can't come together and go on our Weight Watchers journey together. So thank you for joining me. Tonight I'm doing a recipe out of the year-round fresh cookbook, Weight Watchers cookbook. And let me just tell you a little bit about how we do things at my house. We have 3 adults that are on Weight Watchers, and I like to prepare enough for 2 meals with one recipe. So we have dinner one night, we have lunch the next. So it saves me because I have to prepare breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks 7 days a week for 3 people. So if I can stretch a recipe to cover 2 meals, we're good to go. Now, a little bit of information. Many of you have probably noticed that I have not been posting as many videos as I have in the past. Well, the truth is, I injured my left arm really badly. I don't even know how it happened, but I'm 90% sure that I'm gonna have to have a rotator cuff repair. So the mobility in that arm has been really limited. It still is limited. Frankly, the pain has been a bit unbearable. So I am doing everything I can. I'm seeing a doctor tomorrow to see if I need surgery, but we are back on the filming bandwagon and we are gonna get this party started. If this is something that sounds interesting to you and you'd like to learn how to make a wonderful, wonderful dinner, stay tuned. Okay, for this recipe, you're gonna need chicken. You're gonna need some chicken broth, grapes, salt and pepper, a little flour, a little butter. This one I've not had before. It's called Herbes de Provence. Yeah, it's a nice little mix of herbs that are native to France. And everywhere in France that you get them, you're gonna have a little different herbal mix than this one. This one actually has rosemary, lavender, basil, thyme, marjoram, bay leaf, sage, savory, fennel, and oregano. So it should be delightful. Then it calls for some avocado oil, and then some red wine, and some shallots. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna spray a rimmed baking sheet with nonstick cooking spray. You're gonna also heat your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Then you're going to put your grapes on that sheet, spread them out. I didn't want them to be really wet and watery. Okay, and you're gonna place those in a preheated oven for about 10 minutes, and you're gonna shake them halfway through. I'll show you what they look like when they come out. I pulled the grapes out of the oven after 10 minutes, and as you can see, there are parts that are nicely roasted, browned a little bit, and they're really quite soft. They're really quite beautiful. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do after you get those grapes in the oven is you are going to sprinkle the salt and pepper over the chicken. And I have 6 servings here. I'm just gonna smoosh them around so we can get that spread out pretty evenly. Okay. So make sure you get that on there good. Then you're going to put the Herbes de Provence on it, reserving a little bit for later. Okay, that smells really, really good. You take your butter and your flour, and you're going to mix that together. We're going to be using that a little bit later as a thickener for the sauce. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to turn on your stove. And you're going to put in your teaspoon of avocado oil. I'm going to let that get hot. Okay, and then as soon as this is good and hot, you want to have it hot before you put your meat in there. I'm going to put the chicken in there, and I'm going to cook it down, turning only one time until it's brown. About 4 or 5 minutes on each side. of you have probably been saying, why isn't she using a nonstick skillet? Because I want all these browned bits on here because it makes the sauce so wonderful. So we're gonna we're gonna do what's called deglazing our pan. We're gonna deglaze it with the broth and the red wine. And we're just gonna let that cook. The red wine, the broth will just lift those little yummy bits right off the bottom of the pan. We'll bring this to the boil. Oh, look at that. See, it's already getting all those yummy little bits. You can use a nonstick pan if you want. I don't find I get as many wonderful bits to contribute to the quality of the sauce. When you have meat that you're cooking and you have a sauce that you're going to do after you're done cooking it, it's a good idea to use a pan like this, a heavy bottomed pan, so that you can get a good brown on the meat and you can also get a good bit of bits on the bottom of the pan. That little bit extra of the browned bits of meat makes all the difference when you're making a sauce. So we're gonna let this cook for a little while and come back to it. I'm also gonna add the shallots right now. Shallots will give it a wonderful little flavor. And those will cook. This is reduced quite a bit. And now we're going to take that flour and butter mixture. We're going to dump that in there. And we're going to whisk that. You got to whisk it quickly because it will thicken and it'll get blobby if you don't do it quickly. We're going to add the rest of the Herbes de Provence to it. We're gonna let that cook down for an additional 3 or 4 minutes. And it'll get nice and thick and really, really rich. Okay, now you can see that this is nice and thick. All the pan juices are nicely reduced. We got some good thickness going on. Now we're going to add in our grapes. We're going to let them stew for just a little bit in that. Let that heat through, come back to a boil, and then we'll plate.